Vula mazisonda panda face reality. Tabata musuronda kaya paya ningaiti. Kuchikora ndakaenda tekiri ndakasenga. Ndavakuzivunza kuti china ichi. Icho.
Alright, MLISWA, there's a new development in the ongoing issue of the Constitutional Amendment number 3. And recently we've seen the leaking of a letter which was written by a group of retired generals and other senior civil servants who have come out against the proposed amendments, and they say those amendments should be made by Parliament alone without a referendum. So it's a new development which brings in another new challenge to the government's proposed initiative, and it's developing into a very difficult process with more and more people seemingly coming out against the proposed amendments. What is your view, considering that these people are from inside ZANU-PF and they've declared their allegiance to the party, but they've come out in opposing the amendments? What is your position and view of this issue?
First of all, it is important that we allow this discussion, this discourse to go on, because that's what it's supposed to be. People are supposed to air their views, their opinions, and all that. At the end of the day, there's a place which will be able to debate on this. That's Parliament, whether it goes to the referendum or not. And the process has already happened. So it's a bit too late for the retired generals, if it's true, to come up with this at this stage. They were there. They are part of ZANU-PF. And if they're true generals, they do have access to the president. They do have access to the leadership of this country. They do have access to the party structures that they belong to. So I respect generals, and I think they could have had a meeting with the president if they really desired to do things with some integrity and dignity. You don't want the generals to be seen to be disgruntled, bitter, in that they don't have jobs and their time came and their time went, and yet there's a new command. The new command that is there equally respects them. They could have, asked the new command to be able to make an appointment for them to see the president and the leadership of ZANU-PF. We must separate the government and the party at this point in time, because it is the party that wants that, which is supreme to government. And I think they've all said that. I think it's also important for the generals to understand that they've seen a lot happening in Zimbabwe. Why are they talking now? Why did the generals allow the former late president, Mnangagwa, may so rest in peace, rule us for 37 years? Is that what they agreed during the liberation struggle, that the late president would rule for 37 years? I asked them of that. At the end of the day, there was Restore Legacy, which was the people's movement to change the leadership. They were there. They didn't do anything, and so forth. Let's not forget that a lot of the violence which happened during the opposition was attributed to the generals to themselves. What do they have to say about that? The generals are not as clean as they appear to be at this point in time. And I don't know which generals. For me, generals have this aura, this respect, which is critical in one listening to what they says, but in a proper forum, the right people, not in the public. Generals cannot be seen in the public behaving in this manner unless they are rogue generals, unless they become rebels. It's a different thing altogether. And it's only proper that the names that we've seen of the retired General Sigaoke, retired Vice-Marshal Muchena, who I know and respect, to say, are they really involved in this? Because I did not see anything signed. I just saw something on social media and them commenting, but I've not seen anything signed. It's important for them to sign and associate or disassociate themselves with this, because ultimately there was the Geza, my late Sekuru Geza, may so rest in peace, who was equally vocal about these issues. At the end of the day, he was on his own, and he's a man who equally fought the war and did a lot for the country. people might differ in his approach, but I still, stand for the fact that he was a liberator of this country, and he could have also addressed this in a better forum. Lessons must be learned, because we don't want this to be happening. We look forward to them being the people who are sober, who talk about it sober and so forth. But it's a ZANU-PF issue, a party that they belong to, a party that they fought for in the liberation struggle. What has become of now for them not to be able to go to the leadership of ZANU-PF and so forth? So to me, it is critical that the issue of the authors be very clear and so forth. War veterans were arrested because they got a court order for them to be compensated, and the late Comrade Vashko, who was the chairperson of this group, died as a result of some of these generals going against them and getting them arrested. I've never known of war veterans or generals in office or in power or retired who then push for their own war veterans to be arrested. Some of the generals don't belong to the War Veterans Association because they think, listen, Nyembe, Iwombe Kufura, join association. The Association of the War Veterans Association is about welfare, nothing else. So what have they done and what did they do to help the welfare of the war veterans? That's the number one issue. Their conscience must be their master. Vanutichi, vakanovhunzwa kuheaven kwavanoenda ukanangweya vasvika kuti chicha maikaitira madiye enyu on the ground. What did you do for them? The War Veterans Association must focus on the welfare of the war veterans. I think it's very important. I support the welfare of the war veterans. From a political perspective, it's a different thing altogether. The moment you get into politics, it's muddy, it's messy. It's not for that. I remember the late retired Chief Air Marshal saying to me, Temba, I cannot be a politician because I don't know how to deal with the civilians, and I don't know whether I can take what they'll say to me. He was appointed as a minister. He never fought for any position. That is the reason why if you see Honorable Mona as Member of Parliament in Chikomba, people wanted the late retired Chief Emashoshi to be the Member of Parliament in that area. He then called me to his office and said, no, I don't want to be a Member of Parliament. I would like Mona to serve the people. I don't want to be a politician. So generals must be very careful by getting into politics because a lot of things will be understood, a lot is happening and so forth. And let's also be careful in going against the will of the people and the will of the ruling party. The referendum it's a debate. It's not there. Opinions have come through and so forth in Parliament. The other day, Comrade Paul Mangwana explained clearly, that it was not a third term, and so many people have said it's extra time. It's extra time. Go to a football match. So people have come up with different narratives and so forth. So there are people I respect. Let them enjoy this country by being empowered, by their welfare being taken care of and so forth. There are so many people who died during the struggle whose children and families have never benefited. They must be fighting for that. But if they decide to be poor politicians, welcome to the political field. It has no respect. It does not know who you are and so forth. And again, it will tarnish their image. Politics is dirty. Politics is dirty. Politics has no permanent enemy, but permanent interest. In this one, whose interest are they driving? That of the party or that of the president? Being generals, again, they must be careful with being charged with treason. Some of these things will end up being treason at the end of the day, and no one will stand with them. It is the 11th hour right now, and it's important that procedures and protocols are followed. I respect generals, but I don't respect generals who go to the public in this manner. They must first of all see the powers be, and if it does not work, have they tried to call the president, Mnangagwa, who they know, who's worked with them? He was the Minister of Defense before, Minister of State Security. Why have they not approached him? But these sideline meetings that they're having because of disgruntled people and so forth, ndokundira ma generals, musaro hondo istirienyo, munomira mumega, munomira mega, muri vanhu handino respect, handinofarira chaizvo, but inini ndinoti kwamakuenda uku kwakati omei. Inini I always tell you what I think. You know, the same way, a lot has happened in military intelligence and the army, that they spend more time on people like us and so forth, plotting and all that. This country is not for assassination. Haina mepo assassination. Isu tuma traditional leaders. But iye anotenga kwa assassinate. Zia kuti iye ne muri yake ichi assassinate. Wane kuti, if you live by the sword, or die by the sword, hapana anochika umwe. And let's not think kuti nyika control the military. Zimbabwe is not controlled by the military. It's controlled by the people. And the army is the people's army. Because I think Rakunyanya funga no masoja ndi ano control Zimbabwe. No. Andy Roba. Nyika no controller. Never Zimbabwe through a democratic process. And the army is part of the people of Zimbabwe, maintaining law and order. The police doing the same and so forth. Let them play their role in that aspect. Let them allow democracy to prevail. And democracy is stubborn. At times you don't have to agree with everything. But I think it's important that we know that no one is more superior than the other. Tese tunaenda kuninga. But atize ninga za tuenda ndezipi. Tese tuenda kuchechi. Amuze muna mato wedu saka hapana muna nogona fugatano ora muna nekuti mwari chete ndiano zema zoedu. Saka kuchikidzirana izvi zvenyembe zvechi zvakapera nguva yacho. We now need a new era, a generational consensus of people who observe the founding principles of the struggle. Icho ndicho.
Ndavhura maziso ndabva fesa reality. Ndabata musoro ndakaya paya ninga ichi. Kuchikora ndakaenda tekiri ndakasenga. Ndava kuzvibvunza kuti chinha ichi. Pagezo zvanzi madhiri saka spina ichi. Chidhiri chino charamba.